You have felt it before. The presence of someone who doesn't need to speak to be noticed. Someone calm, grounded, and completely at ease while everyone else tries too hard. And somewhere inside you, you recognized it, not as fear, but as respect. Because real power doesn't shout. It settles into the room quietly, and people feel it without understanding why. This is not about becoming cold or hostile. It is about becoming centered. When you stop chasing approval, when you stop reacting to every opinion, something changes in you. Your energy becomes steady. Your words become deliberate. You begin to move with intention instead of urgency. And people notice, not because you demand attention, but because you no longer need it. Machiavellian philosophy teaches a simple truth. People trust what feels stable and respect what feels controlled. When your emotions are balanced and your reactions measured, you become difficult to shake. Not dangerous in a destructive way, but powerful in a composed way. You become someone who cannot be easily manipulated because you choose your responses instead of giving them away. The world constantly tests you through pressure, misunderstanding, and moments designed to pull you out of your calm. Most people react instantly, but you are learning something different. You are learning to pause, to observe, to respond with clarity instead of emotion. And that quiet discipline creates an aura that others feel instinctively. This is the beginning of becoming untouchable, not by pushing people away, but by mastering yourself first. When you are steady inside, nothing outside easily disturbs you. If this mindset speaks to you, comment below, "I move in silence." Because from this moment forward, you are not trying to appear powerful. You are becoming someone whose calm presence naturally commands respect. Number 1, the power of emotional control. You begin to notice something as you grow stronger within yourself. Most conflicts around you are not battles of strength, they are battles of emotion. People lose control long before they lose position. They speak when they should observe, they react when they should wait, and in that moment, they give away their power without realizing it. The truth is simple, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The person who controls their emotions controls the direction of every interaction, not because they dominate others, but because they are not ruled by impulse. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to those who remain composed while others become predictable. When someone can push your anger, your fear, or your insecurity, they are no longer dealing with you. They are steering you. But this is where your transformation begins. You are not learning to suppress emotion. You are learning to understand it. There is strength in feeling, but there is greater strength in choosing when and how those feelings are expressed. A dangerous aura is born when people realize they cannot easily disturb your balance. When insults fail to provoke you, when pressure fails to rush you, when chaos around you meets calm within you. Think about how rare that is. In a world addicted to reaction, calm feels powerful. When everyone else is trying to win arguments, you are trying to understand outcomes. When others seek immediate validation, you are focused on long-term respect. And people sense this difference. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. This is why silence becomes one of your greatest tools, not silence born from fear, but silence chosen with intention. When you do not rush to fill every gap with words, others begin to reveal themselves. They explain more than they should. They expose their intentions, their insecurities, their weaknesses, and you learn without effort simply because you were patient enough to listen. Many men misunderstand power. They believe it comes from being aggressive or dominant, but aggression often signals insecurity. True control feels relaxed, unforced. You do not need to prove strength when you know it is already there. And that certainty changes the way you carry yourself. Your posture slows, your voice lowers, your reactions become measured. You stop trying to win every moment, and instead, you begin shaping outcomes quietly over time. There is a deep psychological reason for this. Human beings are wired to test boundaries. Consciously or not, people push to see where your limits are. If you react emotionally every time, they learn exactly how to move you. But when your responses remain calm and consistent, the testing stops. Respect replaces curiosity, because stability signals strength. This is not manipulation in a destructive sense. It is self-mastery. You are not controlling others. You are refusing to be controlled by your own impulses. And that alone makes you rare. Most people are slaves to mood and circumstance. One bad comment ruins their day. One moment of pressure changes their decisions. But you are learning to remain steady regardless of external noise. And here is the deeper reason this matters. People feel safe around controlled strength. Not weak safety, but grounded safety. The kind that makes others lower their guard because they sense you are not chaotic. You become someone whose presence calms situations rather than inflames them. Someone who thinks before acting. Someone who cannot be easily pulled into unnecessary conflict. This is how an aura forms. Not through intimidation, but through consistency. Day after day, reaction after reaction, you prove to yourself that you are in command of your inner world. And once that happens, the outer world begins to respond differently. Opportunities come easier. Conflicts become smaller. People think twice before challenging you because they sense resistance without hostility. And the most powerful realization comes quietly. Emotional control is freedom. When you are no longer forced to react, you can choose your path instead of being pushed into it. You stop living at the mercy of other people's moods. You move with purpose instead of impulse. So as you listen to this, ask yourself honestly, how many times has emotion cost you peace, respect, or opportunity? And how different would your life feel if nothing outside you could easily shake your center? This is where most people stop, but you won't, because you understand that becoming untouchable is not about distance from others. It is about closeness to your own discipline. If you are still here, still focused, comment below, "My calm is my power." Because the man who masters his reactions becomes the man others cannot control. And once you reach that point, people stop trying to move you and start adjusting themselves instead. Number 2, the strength of quiet detachment. At some point in your life, you realize something that changes the way you see people. Not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every battle deserves your energy. And this realization, if understood correctly, does not make you bitter. It makes you clear. Quiet detachment is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about understanding that your peace has value, that your attention is limited, that your emotional energy is not something to be handed out freely to every opinion, every conflict, or every passing judgment. Most people live in constant reaction because they feel responsible for how everyone perceives them. They carry invisible pressure, trying to please, trying to explain, trying to be understood by people who were never truly listening. But you are learning something different now. You are learning that strength often looks like stepping back. Machiavellian thinking, at its core, is not cruelty. It is clarity about human nature. People act according to interest, emotion, and circumstance. When you stop expecting everyone to act with loyalty or fairness, disappointment loses its grip on you. You stop taking every action personally. You begin to observe instead of absorbing. And in that space between stimulus and response, you find freedom. Think about how much suffering comes from attachment to outcomes you cannot control, wanting approval from people who do not understand your path, holding on to relationships that drain you because you fear being alone, chasing validation instead of purpose. These things slowly weaken a man, not because he lacks strength, but because his energy is scattered. Detachment gathers that energy back. You begin to realize that you do not need to win every argument to maintain your dignity. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. Sometimes the strongest move is silence. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply continuing forward without explanation. And this is where your aura begins to change in a deeper way. People feel that you are no longer easily pulled into emotional storms. There is emotional depth in this process because detachment often begins with pain. Betrayal teaches it. Failure teaches it. Moments when you gave your loyalty or effort and received little in return teach it. But instead of allowing those experiences to harden you, you allow them to refine you. You learn where to invest yourself wisely. You learn that not every door deserves to remain open. And here is the truth many avoid. People respect what they cannot easily possess. When your mood depends on others, your value feels negotiable. But when your sense of self comes from within, you become steady. You enjoy connection, but you do not depend on it for identity. You care, but you do not cling. And that balance creates a quiet strength that others sense immediately. This is why masculine stoicism has always been misunderstood. It is not emotional suppression. It is emotional responsibility. You feel deeply, but you choose carefully where those feelings are placed. You do not allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. You allow time, reflection, and reason to guide you. There will be moments when people misunderstand your calm. Some will call it distance. Others may think you have changed. And they are right, you have. You are no longer reacting the way you used to. You are no longer chasing approval at the cost of self-respect. And not everyone benefits from that change. But the right people will recognize it. They will feel the stability in you. They will trust your presence because it is not driven by neediness or emotional volatility. Your relationships become fewer, but stronger. Your words become fewer, but more meaningful. And your decisions begin to shape your life instead of being shaped by others' expectations. There is also peace here, a deep, quiet peace that comes from accepting that you cannot control everything. Once you release that burden, your mind becomes clearer. You stop wasting energy on imagined conflicts. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You become present, focused, grounded. And this is where the dangerous aura truly begins to form. Not from intimidation, but from emotional independence. People sense that you are not easily influenced by praise or criticism, that you listen, but you decide for yourself, that your direction does not change with every external opinion. The irony is that detachment does not make you less human, it makes you more intentional. You appreciate loyalty more because you no longer expect it from everyone. You value time more because you understand how easily it is wasted. You speak with care because you understand the weight of words. So as you listen to this, reflect honestly. How much of your stress comes from trying to control how others see you? How much energy have you lost trying to hold on to things that were already slipping away? Quiet detachment is not loss. It is alignment. It is choosing peace over chaos, purpose over approval, and self-respect over temporary comfort. If you feel this shift happening within you, comment below. I choose peace over approval. Because the man who learns to stand calmly on his own ground becomes difficult to shake. And when nothing outside you can easily disturb your center, people stop seeing you as someone to test and begin seeing you as someone to respect. And this is only the beginning. Number 3, the discipline of being unreadable. There comes a moment in a man's development when he understands that not everything he thinks needs to be spoken and not everything he feels needs to be shown. This is not deception, it is discipline. The discipline of being unreadable in a world where most people reveal themselves too quickly. Watch closely how people move through life. Many speak to release tension, not to communicate meaning. They explain their plans before they are built. They reveal their frustrations before they understand them. They expose their intentions in search of validation, and in doing so, they give others a map to their inner world. Once people can predict you, they can influence you. Machiavelli observed that power often belongs to those who understand more than they reveal, not because secrecy itself is powerful, but because restraint creates uncertainty, and uncertainty forces attention. When people cannot easily define you, they become careful around you. They listen more closely. They assume depth where silence exists. But being unreadable is not about playing games. It begins with self-control. When something excites you, you do not rush to announce it. When something angers you, you do not rush to display it. You allow emotions to pass through you before deciding what deserves expression. This pause, this small space between feeling and action, separates reactive men from composed ones. There is strength in emotional privacy. Not everyone needs access to your struggles, your ambitions, or your doubts. The modern world encourages constant exposure as if visibility equals importance, but constant exposure weakens presence. When everything is shared, nothing carries weight. When every thought is spoken, words lose their impact. The dangerous aura forms when people realize they cannot easily read your next move. Your calm does not mean passivity. Your silence does not mean weakness. It means you are thinking, observing, choosing carefully where to place your energy. Psychologically, this creates a shift in how others interact with you. Human beings instinctively test boundaries. They push to see how far they can go. But when your reactions remain measured and consistent, the testing fades. People begin to approach you with more respect, not because you demanded it, but because your behavior signaled stability. There is also a deeper reason for this discipline. When you constantly explain yourself, you begin to depend on others' understanding. You seek agreement to feel secure. But when you become comfortable being misunderstood at times, you free yourself from that need. You no longer waste energy correcting every assumption. You allow your actions to speak over time. This does not mean becoming distant or emotionless. It means becoming intentional. You still laugh. You still connect. You still feel deeply. But you choose the moments. You choose the people. Your openness becomes a privilege, not a reflex. Many men fear this stage because it feels lonely at first. When you stop oversharing, conversations change. When you stop reacting emotionally, some people feel less comfortable around you. They were used to predictable responses. They were used to emotional access. Your calm forces them to adjust. And this is where maturity begins. You understand that not everyone will stay as you grow. Some relationships were built on old versions of you, versions that needed approval, validation, or constant reassurance. As you become more grounded, those dynamics shift. What remains are connections built on mutual respect rather than emotional dependency. Being unreadable also protects your direction. When your goals are spoken too early, they invite doubt, criticism, and unnecessary opinions. Every external voice pulls at your focus. But when you move quietly, progress becomes your only announcement. Results speak in ways words never can. There is a quiet confidence that develops here. You stop feeling the urge to prove yourself. You stop correcting people who underestimate you. You allow time to reveal truth. And time, when combined with discipline, becomes one of the strongest allies a man can have. Consider how powerful it is to remain calm when others expect reaction, to listen when others expect defense, to smile slightly when others expect explanation. This unpredictability is not manipulation. It is self-possession. You are no longer being pulled by every emotional current around you. And something unexpected happens. Your mind becomes clearer. Without the constant need to perform or explain, your thoughts slow down. Decisions improve. You begin to see patterns in people's behavior that were once hidden by noise. You recognize who acts from insecurity, who acts from intention, and who deserves your trust. The discipline of being unreadable is ultimately the discipline of knowing yourself. When you understand your values, your direction, and your limits, you no longer feel pressured to display them constantly. They exist whether others see them or not. This is where quiet power lives, not in domination, but in certainty. The certainty that you do not need to be fully understood to remain confident in your path. The certainty that your worth is not dependent on immediate recognition. And over time, people begin to sense it. They may not know why your presence feels different, but they feel the absence of desperation. The absence of emotional chaos, the presence of someone who thinks before acting and speaks with purpose rather than impulse. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, the man who masters restraint becomes impossible to ignore. Number 4. The power of controlled presence. There is a difference between being noticed and being remembered. Many people enter a room loudly, trying to capture attention through force, humor, or dominance. For a moment, it works. Eyes turn, voices respond. But the effect fades quickly because attention gained through noise rarely leaves a lasting impression. Controlled presence works differently. It does not demand attention. It attracts it naturally. You have experienced this before. Someone enters quietly, says little, yet the atmosphere shifts. People become slightly more aware of themselves. Conversations slow. There is no obvious reason, yet the presence feels grounded, stable, difficult to ignore. This is not charisma in the traditional sense. It is composure made visible. Controlled presence begins with inner order. When your thoughts are scattered, your movements become restless. When you seek approval, your behavior becomes exaggerated. But when your mind is calm, your body follows. Movements become slower, more deliberate. Eye contact becomes steady instead of searching. Your voice carries weight because it is not rushed. People sense when someone is comfortable within themselves, and that comfort creates authority without effort. Machiavellian philosophy teaches that perception shapes reality. People respond not only to what you are, but to how you present yourself. When you appear rushed, uncertain, or overly eager, others unconsciously assign you less influence. But when your presence feels patient and controlled, people assume competence before you even prove it. This is not manipulation. It is understanding human psychology. Most people reveal insecurity through speed. They speak quickly to avoid silence. They agree quickly to avoid conflict. They act quickly to avoid being judged. But controlled presence requires the opposite. You allow pauses, you allow silence, you allow moments to unfold before reacting. This signals confidence because only someone secure can afford not to rush. There is emotional depth to this discipline. Many men spend years trying to become someone else, louder, more aggressive, more dominant, believing that power requires performance. But true presence emerges when performance stops. When you stop trying to impress, your energy settles. You no longer calculate every reaction. You simply respond from clarity. And people feel that authenticity. Controlled presence also changes how conflict unfolds around you. When someone raises their voice and you remain calm, the contrast becomes obvious. Emotional intensity loses strength when it meets stillness. Anger seeks reaction. Without it, it weakens. This does not mean avoiding confrontation when necessary. It means choosing the tone and timing instead of being dragged into emotional escalation. There is a quiet confidence in knowing you do not need to win every moment. You begin to think in longer timelines. Instead of reacting to immediate discomfort, you consider outcomes. Instead of defending ego, you protect direction. This shift alone separates emotional maturity from impulsive behavior. Psychologically, humans mirror energy. If you enter situations tense, others become tense. If you remain composed, others unconsciously adjust to your rhythm. Your calm becomes contagious. This is why leaders throughout history often appeared unshaken even in uncertainty. Their stability allowed others to feel stable. But controlled presence requires honesty with yourself. You cannot fake calm for long. Eventually, internal chaos reveals itself through small behaviors, restless hands, defensive speech, unnecessary explanations. Real presence comes from reducing inner conflict, from knowing what matters to you and letting go of what does not. This is where masculine stoicism reveals its true purpose. It is not emotional suppression, it is emotional alignment. You feel fully, but you are not ruled by temporary emotion. You recognize anger without becoming it. You acknowledge fear without obeying it. You experience pressure without surrendering to it. Over time, This creates a powerful shift in how you move through life. You begin to conserve energy. You speak less, but with more intention. You listen more, and in doing so, you understand people more deeply. And understanding is one of the greatest forms of power because it allows you to respond wisely instead of impulsively. There is also a deeper emotional layer here. When you stop chasing attention, you begin to notice reminders of peace that were always present, quiet moments, clear thinking, the absence of unnecessary drama. Life feels less like a constant competition and more like a path you are shaping intentionally. People often misunderstand this stage. They assume calm men lack ambition. In reality, the opposite is true. Controlled presence allows focus. Without emotional distraction, your effort becomes consistent, and consistency over time outperforms intensity. You stop burning energy in short bursts and start building momentum that others cannot easily disrupt. Another change happens quietly. You become less affected by praise and criticism alike. Compliments no longer inflate you, and negativity no longer destabilizes you. Both become information rather than emotional triggers. This balance makes you difficult to manipulate because your behavior is no longer driven by external validation. And this is where the aura deepens. People begin to feel that you are anchored, that your mood is not easily altered by circumstances, that your decisions come from thought rather than impulse. Even when you say little, your presence communicates certainty. There is strength in restraint, strength in knowing you do not need to reveal everything at once, strength in allowing others to underestimate you while you continue progressing quietly. Over time, results speak louder than any display of confidence ever could. Controlled presence is not about distancing yourself from others. It is about becoming someone whose energy brings stability rather than chaos. Someone whose words carry weight because they are not wasted. Someone whose calm makes others feel both comfortable and cautious at the same time. And perhaps the most important realization is this: the dangerous aura people speak about is not created by intimidation. It is created by self-mastery. When your mind is steady, your actions intentional, and your emotions disciplined, people sense that you are not easily moved. And in a world full of reaction, that alone feels powerful. The man who controls his presence controls how the world experiences him. And once you understand that, you stop trying to be impressive and start becoming undeniable. Number 5. The respect that comes from self-possession. There is a moment in every man's life when he realizes that respect cannot be demanded, negotiated, or chased. It is felt, quietly earned through consistency, through boundaries, through the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. And the truth most people avoid is this: respect begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself to please others. Many men confuse kindness with submission. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid discomfort. They laugh off things that slowly erode their self-worth. Over time, this creates internal conflict. You begin to feel unseen, unheard, undervalued, not because the world is unfair, but because you taught people how to treat you by what you allowed. Self-possession changes this completely. Self-possession means you belong to yourself first. Your time, your attention, your energy. These are choices, not obligations. When you move from this mindset, something shifts in your interactions. You no longer seek approval before making decisions. You no longer over-explain your boundaries. You become calm, clear, and firm without hostility. Machiavelli understood that people respect strength that remains consistent, not explosive strength that appears only in anger, but steady strength that does not bend under pressure. When your behavior aligns with your principles, people begin to understand that your limits are real, and once limits are respected, respect follows naturally. There is emotional depth in this process because it often requires unlearning old habits. The habit of needing to be liked, the habit of avoiding conflict at any cost, the habit of measuring your value through other people's reactions. Letting go of these patterns can feel uncomfortable at first because you are stepping into unfamiliar territory. But discomfort is often the signal of growth. You begin to notice something important. The more you respect your own time and energy, the more others do the same. Not because you demand it loudly, but because your actions communicate it clearly. You arrive on time. You keep your word. You do not tolerate repeated disrespect. You remain calm when enforcing boundaries. And calm boundaries are powerful. They leave no space for argument. This is where masculine stoicism reveals another layer. Stoicism is not emotional distance, it is emotional responsibility. You do not explode when challenged, but you also do not shrink. You remain steady, grounded, certain of where you stand, and certainty removes confusion in how others interact with you. There is also a psychological reason this creates a dangerous aura. People instinctively recognize individuals who cannot be easily pressured. When guilt, manipulation, or emotional intensity fail to move you, others realize that influence must come through respect rather than force. You become someone who chooses rather than reacts. And choice is power. Self-possession also changes your internal world. You stop replaying conversations, wondering if you said the right thing. You stop seeking reassurance after every decision. Your mind becomes quieter because your actions align with your values. That alignment creates confidence that does not depend on external praise. But this does not make you rigid. True self-possession includes humility. You listen, you adjust when necessary, you learn continuously. The difference is that change comes from reflection, not pressure. You evolve because you choose to, not because others demand it. There is a calm strength in knowing that you can walk away from what does not serve you. Not dramatically, not with anger, simply with clarity. And people feel this. They sense that your presence is voluntary, not desperate, that you stay because you want to, not because you fear being alone. Ironically, this makes your connections stronger. When people know you do not need them for validation, your interactions become more genuine. Respect replaces obligation. Conversations become honest rather than performative. And your energy becomes something people value rather than take for granted. At this stage, you begin to understand something deeper about power. Real power is not control over others. It is control over yourself in situations where most people lose it. The ability to remain calm when disrespected. The ability to walk away when necessary. The ability to stay silent when speaking would only feed ego. This is why self-possession feels intimidating to some people. Not because you are aggressive, but because you are stable. And stability is difficult to manipulate. People who rely on emotional chaos cannot easily influence someone who remains centered. Over time, your reputation begins to form without effort. People describe you as composed, reliable, difficult to pressure, someone who thinks before acting, and these qualities create a form of respect that does not disappear when you leave the room. You stop trying to win approval in small moments and start building something larger, a character that speaks for itself. And character, once established, becomes your strongest protection. You do not need to constantly defend your image because your actions have already defined it. There is peace in this stage. A quiet confidence that grows from knowing who you are and what you stand for. You no longer feel the need to prove strength through confrontation or dominance. Your restraint speaks louder than aggression ever could. If this message resonates with you, take a moment and write in the comments, "I stand firm in myself." Not for anyone else, but as a reminder to yourself of the standard you are choosing to live by. Because becoming untouchable is not about isolation. It is about integrity. When your actions, words, and values align, you become difficult to shake. And when people realize they cannot easily move you away from your center, respect becomes inevitable. If you're finding value in this journey with Psygrytham, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because the path to quiet power is not built in one moment. It is built through understanding, step by step, until the way you think, move, and live becomes unshakable. And this is where the transformation deepens next. Number 6. The courage to walk your own path. There comes a stage in a man's life when he realizes that the greatest pressure he faces is not from enemies, competition, or circumstance. It is from expectation. The expectations of society, of family, of friends, and sometimes the expectations he placed on himself long ago without ever questioning whether they were truly his. Most people live according to invisible scripts. They follow paths because they are familiar, because they are safe, because stepping outside them risks judgment, and judgment is something human beings naturally fear. The fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or seen as different keeps many men trapped in lives that feel acceptable on the outside but empty within. But the development of a dangerous aura requires something deeper than discipline or emotional control. It requires courage, the quiet courage to think independently, to make decisions that align with your values even when they are unpopular. To walk forward without constant reassurance that you are doing the right thing. Machiavelli understood that leadership, whether over others or over oneself, often demands separation from the crowd. Not isolation, but independence of thought. The majority seeks comfort. The individual who seeks mastery must often choose discomfort in the short term to gain clarity in the long term. This is not easy. There is emotional weight in realizing that not everyone will understand your direction. Some people are comfortable only when you remain the version of yourself they are used to. When you grow, when you become more disciplined, more focused, more selective with your time, it challenges their expectations. And sometimes they respond with resistance, not because they wish you harm, but because your change reminds them of their own stagnation. You must learn not to resent this. People operate from their own fears and limitations. Your responsibility is not to convince everyone of your path, but to walk it with consistency. Over time, results speak louder than explanation. Walking your own path also means accepting uncertainty. There will be moments when progress feels slow, moments when doubt appears quietly, asking whether the easier road would have been better. This is where emotional strength matters most, because real growth rarely feels comfortable while it is happening. It feels uncertain, quiet, sometimes lonely. But loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness comes from needing others to validate your existence. Solitude comes from being comfortable in your own company while building something meaningful. The man who learns to sit alone with his thoughts without panic develops a clarity that others rarely experience. In solitude, you begin to hear your own voice again, not the voice shaped by social pressure or comparison, but the one that understands what truly matters to you. You begin to recognize which goals were borrowed and which ones are genuinely yours. And when your actions align with that inner clarity, motivation becomes steady instead of forced. There is also a psychological transformation that happens here. When you stop constantly comparing your progress to others, anxiety loses its grip. Comparison creates urgency without direction. You rush, not because you are ready, but because you feel behind. But when you focus on your own path, time begins to work differently. Progress becomes personal, measured against your past self rather than someone else's highlight reel. This independence creates a powerful presence. People sense when someone is not easily influenced by trends, opinions, or temporary approval. Your decisions appear calmer, more deliberate. You become less reactive to external noise because your direction comes from internal certainty. And certainty is rare. Many people change their opinions depending on who they are around. Their identity shifts to maintain acceptance. But when your values remain consistent regardless of environment, others begin to trust your stability. They know where you stand. They know your words are not shaped by convenience. That consistency builds respect over time. Walking your own path also teaches patience. Not everything meaningful happens quickly. Strength, reputation, mastery, these are built slowly, often unnoticed in the beginning. The modern world celebrates instant success, but lasting power grows quietly. Day after day, decision after decision, you become someone different without needing public recognition. There will be moments when others move faster than you. Moments when shortcuts appear tempting. But shortcuts often trade long-term strength for short-term validation. The disciplined man understands that slow, steady progress builds foundations that cannot easily collapse. Emotionally, this stage brings a deeper peace. You stop feeling the need to explain your ambitions to people who do not share them. You stop seeking approval for choices that only you must live with. And in that silence, confidence grows naturally. Not loud confidence, but calm assurance. You also begin to understand that failure is not an enemy. It is information. Every mistake reveals something about your approach, your timing, or your preparation. Instead of seeing failure as proof of inadequacy, you begin to see it as refinement. Each setback sharpens judgment. Each challenge strengthens resilience. And this resilience contributes to your aura more than any external success ever could. People respect individuals who continue forward despite difficulty, not because they never struggle, but because they refuse to stop. The courage to walk your own path ultimately leads to freedom. Freedom from constant comparison. Freedom from needing universal approval. Freedom from living according to expectations that do not belong to you. And freedom creates calm. Because when you know you are moving in alignment with yourself, external noise loses its power. At this stage, something subtle changes in how you see the world. You stop viewing life as something happening to you and begin seeing it as something you are actively shaping. Your choices carry weight because they are intentional. Your time feels more valuable because it is directed. And people notice, not because you announce your journey, but because your energy feels different, focused, grounded, purposeful. You are no longer moving randomly. You are moving with direction. This is the paradox of becoming untouchable. You do not withdraw from life. You engage with it more deeply, but on your own terms. You choose your battles carefully. You invest your energy wisely. And you accept that not everyone will walk beside you on the same road. But that is the cost of growth, and also its reward. Because the man who has the courage to stand alone when necessary becomes the man who cannot easily be led astray. And once you reach that point, your presence no longer seeks permission from the world. It simply moves forward. Number 7. The weight of silence and the power of observation. As you continue this transformation, you begin to notice something most people overlook. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. Noise often hides insecurity. Constant talking hides uncertainty. But silence, intentional silence, creates space. And in that space, truth reveals itself. Most people listen only long enough to respond. They are waiting for their turn to speak, not trying to understand. Because of this, they miss details, tone, hesitation, contradiction, emotion behind words. But when you slow down and truly observe, you begin to see patterns in people that were always there, hidden beneath conversation. Observation is a form of power that requires patience. It asks you to step back from the need to immediately participate, to watch how people behave when they want something, how they react when challenged, how their energy changes depending on who is present. These small details tell you more than words ever will. Machiavelli emphasized understanding human nature before attempting to influence outcomes, not through manipulation, but through awareness. When you understand motivation, fear, and desire, you stop being surprised by behavior. And when you are not easily surprised, you remain calm while others become emotional. There is emotional depth in learning to observe because it forces you to confront reality without illusion. You begin to see that people are complex, sometimes inconsistent, sometimes driven by insecurity rather than intention. And instead of taking everything personally, you begin to understand context. This understanding reduces unnecessary conflict. You stop reacting to surface behavior and start recognizing underlying causes. Silence supports this process. When you speak less, people speak more. They reveal opinions, frustrations, ambitions, and weaknesses without realizing it. You gain information simply by allowing space to exist, and information, when combined with patience, creates advantage. But this is not about becoming calculating or distant. It is about becoming aware. Awareness allows you to choose your responses wisely. Instead of being pulled into every emotional exchange, you decide which situations deserve your energy. You stop wasting effort on arguments that lead nowhere. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. There is strength in restraint, the ability to hear criticism without immediate defense, the ability to listen to praise without becoming arrogant, the ability to remain neutral long enough to see clearly. This neutrality is often mistaken for indifference, but in reality, it is control. Emotionally reactive environments lose their influence over you. Drama becomes easier to recognize and easier to avoid. You begin to value peace over proving points, and that choice alone changes the direction of your life. Energy, once spent on unnecessary conflict, becomes available for growth, learning, and building something meaningful. Observation also deepens your understanding of yourself. When you stop constantly expressing, you start reflecting. You notice your own patterns, what triggers you, what motivates you, where your patience weakens. This self-awareness strengthens discipline because you are no longer blind to your own reactions. Many men attempt to appear strong externally while ignoring internal chaos. But true strength requires honesty. Observing yourself with the same clarity you observe others allows you to correct weaknesses quietly. No performance, no announcement, just steady improvement over time. There is a calm confidence that develops here. You no longer feel pressure to dominate conversations or prove intelligence. You know that understanding is more valuable than being seen as right. And this mindset makes your words more impactful when you do speak, because people recognize that you speak with intention rather than impulse. Psychologically, silence creates presence. When someone speaks constantly, their words blend into background noise. But when someone speaks selectively, others listen closely. Your voice carries weight because it is not overused. Your opinions matter because they are considered. This stage also teaches emotional patience. Not every situation needs immediate resolution. Sometimes clarity comes only with time. By resisting the urge to react instantly, you allow circumstances to reveal themselves fully. Many conflicts resolve naturally when not fueled by emotional urgency. There is peace in this realization. Life slows down. Decisions feel less rushed. You begin to trust your ability to wait, and patience, in a world driven by urgency, becomes a quiet advantage. While others exhaust themselves chasing immediate outcomes, you move steadily toward lasting ones. People begin to sense this difference. They may not articulate it, but they feel that you are difficult to pressure, that you do not rush into agreement, that your calm forces situations to unfold more slowly, and slow decisions are often better decisions. Observation also protects you from illusion. You start recognizing when words and actions do not align, when promises are empty, when intentions are unclear. Instead of confronting everything immediately, you simply adjust your expectations and behavior. This quiet adjustment preserves energy and prevents unnecessary confrontation. Over time, your presence becomes associated with stability. People become more careful with their words around you, not out of fear, but out of awareness. They know you are paying attention, and attention alone changes behavior. The weight of silence is not emptiness, it is awareness without noise. It is the ability to remain grounded while the world moves quickly around you, and in that stillness, your thinking sharpens, your emotions settle, your decisions improve. This is where the dangerous aura evolves again, not into intimidation, but into depth. People feel that there is more beneath the surface, that you see more than you say, that your calm is intentional, not accidental. And the truth is simple. The man who observes more than he reacts learns faster than everyone else. He understands people without needing constant explanation. He avoids mistakes others repeat. He moves with insight instead of assumption. In a world filled with noise, the man who masters silence becomes impossible to overlook, because while others are trying to be heard, he is quietly learning how the game is truly played. Number 8. The calm that makes you unbreakable. At this stage, something inside you begins to change in a way that is difficult to explain to others. The urgency that once controlled you starts to fade, the need to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to prove your worth. It slowly loses its grip, and in its place, a different kind of strength appears. Quiet, steady, unshakable. Most people live in a constant state of tension. They carry past disappointments, future anxieties, and present pressures all at once. Their reactions come from accumulated stress rather than clear thought. This is why small problems feel overwhelming. Their inner world is already unstable. When pressure arrives, it simply exposes what was already fragile. But when you begin mastering yourself, calm stops being something temporary. It becomes your default state. This calm is not the absence of difficulty. Life does not suddenly become easier. Challenges remain. People still misunderstand you. Plans still fail. But your relationship with these events changes. You stop seeing obstacles as personal attacks and begin seeing them as part of the process. And this shift removes emotional weight from situations that once drained you. Machiavellian philosophy often speaks about adaptability, the ability to remain effective regardless of changing circumstances. The man who depends on perfect conditions is easily broken. The man who remains steady in imperfect conditions becomes difficult to defeat, because his strength comes from within, not from the environment around him. There is emotional depth in reaching this stage because it requires acceptance. Acceptance that not everything will go your way. Acceptance that people will disappoint you. Acceptance that control is limited. But instead of creating bitterness, this acceptance creates resilience. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. Resilience is quiet. It does not announce itself. It reveals itself in how quickly you recover, how calmly you adjust, how little energy you waste on what cannot be changed. While others remain stuck in frustration, you move forward. This calm also changes your relationship with fear. Fear does not disappear. It becomes information, a signal that something matters. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you learn to move through it. Each time you face uncertainty without panic, your confidence grows. Not the loud confidence of ego, but the grounded confidence of experience. You begin to trust yourself. And self-trust is one of the rarest forms of power. Many people constantly seek reassurance because they doubt their own judgment. They ask others what to do, how to think, how to feel. But when you have faced difficulty repeatedly and remained standing, you realize that you can handle more than you once believed. This realization makes you calmer in future challenges. There is also a deep emotional peace in no longer needing every outcome to validate you. Success feels satisfying, but failure no longer destroys your identity. You understand that both are temporary. What remains constant is your ability to continue. This mindset makes you unbreakable in a psychological sense, not because nothing affects you, but because nothing defines you permanently. You adapt, you learn, you continue, and continuity itself becomes strength. People notice this without fully understanding it. They see that you do not panic under pressure, that criticism does not easily provoke you, that setbacks do not stop your progress. Your presence begins to feel stable, almost grounding to those around you. In chaotic situations, others look toward calm individuals instinctively. Calm signals capability. But this calm requires discipline to maintain. It comes from managing your inner dialogue, from refusing to let negative thoughts spiral unchecked, from reminding yourself that most problems are temporary, even when they feel permanent in the moment. Perspective becomes your shield. You also learn to conserve emotional energy. Not every disagreement deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves response. By choosing where to invest yourself, you protect your mental clarity. And clarity allows better decisions than emotional urgency ever could. There is strength in knowing when to step back, when to rest, when to allow time to do its work. Many men burn out because they believe constant intensity equals strength. In reality, endurance comes from balance, periods of action followed by periods of recovery, effort guided by purpose rather than anxiety. As this calm deepens, your identity becomes less fragile. You are no longer defined by how others perceive you in a single moment. You understand that reputation is built over time, that one mistake does not erase consistent effort. This long-term perspective reduces emotional volatility and strengthens patience. And patience, combined with resilience, creates quiet authority. You stop rushing life. You stop forcing outcomes. You move steadily, trusting that disciplined action accumulates results. Others may move faster for short periods, but consistency eventually overtakes intensity. The dangerous aura people speak about reaches its mature form here, not in intimidation or mystery, but in stability. People sense that you cannot be easily shaken, that emotional pressure does not control you, that your decisions come from thought rather than impulse. This does not make you distant from life. In fact, it allows you to engage more fully. Without constant internal chaos, you experience moments more clearly. Conversations become deeper. Work becomes more focused. Rest becomes more meaningful. You are present instead of distracted by worry. And perhaps the most powerful realization of all emerges quietly. Peace and strength are not opposites. True strength creates peace. Because when you trust your ability to handle whatever comes, fear loses its power over you. The calm you build becomes your foundation. Storms may come, but foundations remain. And when others feel uncertainty, your steadiness becomes something they respect, sometimes even rely on. This is how a man becomes difficult to break, not by avoiding hardship, but by learning that hardship cannot take away who he has become. Now, you understand the truth most people never reach. A dangerous aura is not something you wear. It is something you build, slowly, quietly, through discipline, self-control, and the decision to master yourself before trying to master the world. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. You are not pushing people away. You are learning to stand firmly within yourself. And when a man reaches that point, his presence changes naturally. He speaks less, but means more. He reacts less, but influences more. He moves through life with intention instead of urgency. This is the path of quiet power, not loud, not performative, but undeniable over time. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments, calm mind, unshakable presence. Let it be a reminder of the standard you choose to live by from this moment forward. And if you're building this mindset with Sai Gritham, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because this journey doesn't end here. It deepens with every lesson, every challenge, and every decision you make moving forward. Stay calm, stay disciplined, and keep becoming someone the world cannot easily move.